What's up guys, sure you're back in the video. Today's video is what if Aljandro and Katie swap personalities. So this idea was by Victor Andres Chabral Guns. So thank you Andre for your suggestion. I saved it as like a photo, so unfortunately I don't have your full name, but just so that's who suggested it, so I just showed the comment. Sorry this is a really late one, because I think you sent me like 2 suggestions before, but I'm gonna do it now. So hopefully you enjoy it whenever you see this video. So let's begin. Obviously, Aljandro is into technology and is not manipulative, so that's gonna be quite interesting. So in the first episode of Total Drama, Duncan quits the competition and nothing really changes. But because Aljandro, there is a bit of a change here. Because Aljandro is not manipulating Bridget and Lindsay, there's a slight difference because he wouldn't be charming them because he would just be a celebrity. He'd be like a model. He'd be like a celebrity, so he would want to get pictures with the cast. He'd be a super fanboy. He'd basically be like Sierra. He'd be really excited. He wouldn't be obsessed with anyone. Would you mind if he was obsessed with like Heather? I mean, that'd be kind of funny. But I also don't think Aljandro would be the type of person to be obsessed with someone. I don't think Aljandro would be. It's not in his nature. I just don't see it for him. So I don't think he would be like. He'd be similar to Sierra, but she wouldn't. He would be similar to Sierra. Maybe a Cody rivalry. Jokes aside, Aljandro would travel at a very similar speed, and so there's still no reason for why Duncan would quit the competition. So let's just quickly get the teams. Now, at first I originally thought that the episode wouldn't change, because I originally was going to do Aljandro on Team Victory, but I actually thought it makes sense for him to still arrive with Bridget and Lindsay instead of just following them, because he's very an active person. Like, Aljandro's a very physical threat. Like, Tyler, for example, was able to catch up with Aljandro literally right after where Aljandro went to the original. Tyler was able to get there really fast, so I do think Aljandro would get in a very similar position. In this episode, Aljandro wouldn't affect anything besides befriending Tyler, because I do actually think in this version he would befriend him, and Sierra and Cody swap teams, and unfortunately Ezekiel is still the first person booted. In episode 3, Chris would explain the challenge. I think Aljandro would still be really good in this challenge like he was in the original, if not even better than the original version, just because he'd be a super fan. But there's still no reason for why Harold. Actually, there is a difference here. Aljandro would not manipulate Harold to quit the competition, so DJ would remain eliminated without Aljandro to persuade him to quit. There's no reason for why DJ would quit the comp. There's no reason why Harold quits the competition. In the Yukon, Bridget does not get stuck to a pole, so there is a difference here as well. So Aljandro and Bridget don't kiss either, which is important. Also, at this point, Tyler got his team across in the original anyway. I forgot Cody should be on Team Amazon, so they're busy. And so Team Amazon go to elimination, and they lose the challenge here. So I think Courtney and Gwen would vote for Heather. Cody would vote for Sierra. And Sierra would vote for Heather. But rather than what Heather and Cody do here, I just think Heather's getting voted off after this challenge. There's no reason for Heather to stay around at this point. In episode 5 is a non-elimination. This can be skipped. The only difference here is Aljandro would be bonding with Tyler. That's really it. You take pictures of like Noah and Owen and the cast. 6 non-elimination as well is an aftermath. The only difference here is there's no sorry song. And Heather will just be frustrated that she got eliminated very early on. Episode 7, Slap Slap Revolution, so Aljandro still volunteer. Harold and Sierra. Now, Sierra, Cody volunteered in the original. Tyler Actually, Team Victory have the same amount of people, but there's no DJ Destroy their statue, so I do think they'd win. So Shauna, Harold, and Bridget. Because I think she'd do better than Lindsay. So, Noah and Owen. Okay, so Aljandro doesn't get distracted by Heather, because she's not there. I think Harold and Shauna win automatically, and Sierra, that's Cody here. They were here with the original challenge. Team Chris, I think they would lose, like they would have in the original. Team Chris go to elimination. Now at this point, Noah is not as suspicious of Aljandro. So at this point, he still has the numbers. So I think Aljandro will go home, because even though Tyler's a screw up, I think Noah, Aljandro's not manipulative. He's not the same character he is in the original, and they've got Izzy the challenge and Tyler, so they don't really need Aljandro. So I think Aljandro's just more of a liability here, so I do think that Aljandro kind of gets screwed over. And it is unfortunate, but I just don't see how he would be saved. So the only difference here in the Amazon race would be, obviously, there isn't there's no Heather, but again, they just vote for Sierra, but it's an elimination, so it doesn't really matter who wins the challenge. In episode 9, Cat Falling in Love You, Lindsay, Team Victory 100% win the challenge. With Lindsay by herself winning, there's no way Team Victory do not win the challenge. Between Team Chris and Team Amazon, I have one deciding factor on which team win the challenge. Sierra was upset for last episode for Cody running her off. And Cody, which I'm really confused in the original, had to make up with it. And Tyler would help his team win. With Noah, Owen, Izzy. They did terrible in this challenge. Aljandro was kind of the only reason they did well, but I still think they would probably do better than Team Amazon. So I do think they would probably lose the challenge here. Yeah, and a bit of a spoiler, they just get rid of Sierra. So episode 10, non-elimination. So Jamaica, Izzy jumps out of the plane while it's crashing, and that's important. So Owen and Gwen get sent to the infirmary. Now Alana's not here to get her out of the water of the eel, but someone like Courtney would be able to save Gwen, so I'm not really sure that's really that. So it's only Noah, Tyler, and Owen who would do the challenge, and they would win. I think Courtney would be able to win with Cody. So I think Team Victory would lose. Because Harold, besides Harold, actually no, Bridges is a natural surfer. So I think they'd actually win the challenge, Team Victory. And between Team Chris and Team Amazon, I think Team Chris are able to win the challenge here. With Tyler. No, I'm actually not. I'm going to see Team Chris lose. So they probably lose here, to be honest. But because there's no... Because I think Noah could just point out that Izzy was on their team, and it'd be unfair for them to just get rid of Izzy. So I do think Izzy would just go home. There would be no double elimination this time. 12 Aftermath of 13, Duncan's return. Now, Duncan still returns to the game. So there are some differences in this version that are not in the original. For one, we still have Team Victory. 2, Bridget is not in the Aftermath. And 3, we don't have Sierra and Heather and Aljandro. So on the ship, nobody gets called by themselves. Tyler gets called at the stretching table. Noah and Owen find Jack the Ripper. This would still work. And Courtney and Gwen find Duncan. Now, Tian's talking about Duncan, Team Chris, about Jack the Ripper. I'm going to honour this because Tian's talking about Duncan. Duncan is second prize, but they just come back with nothing, so they lose the challenge. So Sean and Harold vote for Lindsay, and then Lindsay and Bridget vote for Harold. So tiebreak between Lindsay and Harold. Sorry, Lindsay. Episode 14 is Greece. Kiss still happens. title witnesses. So the board challenge, Duncan, Gwen, Harold. I think Harold would probably win because Duncan and Gwen would be distracted over the kiss to win the challenge. Courtney, Tyler, but Owen's volunteered for title in the original. And Lashawna. I think Courtney would win because I don't think Lashawna would do that well against Courtney. Yes, she had more animosity in action, but in World Tour they were on different teams. They didn't interact much in World Tour, so I do think Courtney would win. In the tiebreaker, it would have to be Cody, since they were the one who didn't volunteer the original. I think Tyler, because I don't think Noah would do very well with the hurdles. And Bridget. So I think Bridget would probably, but Cody would win because of what Sierra said. So 2 points to Tianzon. Tianzon is safe with 1 point. 2 points Tianzon. 1 point Team Victory. And 0 points Team Chris. So what I think would happen is the tiebreaker. Then would the tiebreaker still happen? Actually, not. Duncan, Gwen won the original. I don't think Harold did well with the ball. I mean, yeah, he won. So a tiebreaker happens between Noah, Bridget, and Cody. Cody wins. Team Chris lose. Non-elimination. So episode 15. The kiss. Obviously, Noah figures out about the kiss and just gets Tyler to spill the beans, and Tyler kind of just says it. Without Aljandro here, though, Tyler doesn't reveal the kiss at this point. But I kind of think he still would, because Noah would be able to trick him. So episode 15, The X-Files. Owen gets captured at 51. Noah's off by himself. I think Tyler's happy alien. Cody clones himself again, but they haven't got Sierra to destroy the clone, so Cody just runs with the clone. Tyler, Duncan, he saves Tyler and makes that deal. Noah carries the alien box instead of Tyler because he'd be carrying Owen and Duncan, and Courtney starts saying gets Cody to win the challenge. Tiebreaker. Sorry, Bridget doesn't really stand a chance here, so they just get rid of Bridget. So in episode 16, Pit Hand Duck, Owen takes forever on his emu in the original. So I think victory in Amazon. But Cody would still be spinning. So, yeah, still Gwen. 17, not a lot changes, non-elimination. Lanley joins. And we're at the merge. So, really, we have to talk about the events. So, Aljandro in the aftermath would just be really happy to get to know the cast. I guess that's kind of all he's doing. I'm sorry that he wasn't in it for very long, but that's what I think would happen in the universe. In 19, we have a bit of a problem. We have more guys than girls, first of all. Second of all, we're going to have an odd pair. So, Duncan and Courtney in the original, and Owen and Blanley. Tyler and Lashawna, because they were seen to get on really, but no, Noah and Lashawna, I think would actually suit pretty well. Actually, Tyler and Noah, Harold and Lashawna, and then Cody gets a bear. So Cody can't carry a bear. Duncan and Courtney still win the challenge, I think. Owen and Blaney fall. Harold, he'd have mad roping skills, but I've never seen Harold and Sean do that well, so I don't think they do that well either. Now, I do think Tyler and Noah would probably be pretty good at this challenge, but I'm going to say Duncan and Courtney still win immunity, because they won the original. Because Tyler would either do really, really well or really, really bad. I think he probably would just fall because he's Tyler. So Duncan and Courtney have immunity. So these two... So I feel like Noah just makes a Team Chris alliance, but they just add Cody. If I'm being honest. Lashana votes Blaney, Harold votes Blaney, Blaney votes Lashana, and Noah convinces the guys to get rid of Lashana, right? Because Noah knows at this point Lashana's the biggest threat that's not immune. She made it pretty far in all the seasons she's been in. She's going to win most of the challenges. So I Blaney would be an easy get-out card. I do think they vote for Lashana. Without Aljandro here to convince everyone that Owen's the fan favourite, there's no reason for him to go home. In episode 20, Chinese Faker, everyone qualifies, Owen wins the challenge. There's nobody that's going to beat Owen. And obviously Duncan, I think Blaney and Courtney are still sent home. Obviously Duncan and Harold vote for each other. But that's really about it. I don't think anyone else affect the challenge. Tyler and Harold don't really affect the episode and Noah being here. In episode 21 is Raf and Safari. So this is the Ezekiel challenge. Trying to get him as bait. Now nobody does Aljandro's plan, so that is different. Now obviously Noah talks about his 4-person alliance, and Duncan, he tries to talk to Harold because at this point Tyler doesn't want to speak to Duncan because of Lambs or Gwen, but he wouldn't be as annoyed at Tyler in this version because, well, I guess he kind of would be, but Cody also doesn't like Duncan, and that just leaves Harold. Now, Harold doesn't like Duncan, but I think Duncan would kind of say to Harold, well, you want to get voted off next, so I'm just saying, if you don't want to work with me, just be prepared that you are going to lose the challenge. Now, throughout the day, Duncan and Harold do actually bond here. Meanwhile, Noah comes up with a plan to put out Aljandro to lure Ezekiel, and so I think Noah wins the challenge. And yeah, a bit of a warning here. Everyone kind of screws over Duncan. 22, African Philly races to the top. I think Tyler wins the challenge. So Harold, Tyler, and Cody vote for Owen. Because they know Noah and Owen would 100% get to the finale in the final 2. And so everyone just gets rid of Owen, which is sad. So 23, Drumheller. I think the first part of the challenge, Noah makes a real dinosaur, Tyler does terrible, Cody does his terrible donkey, and Howard comes second, and Cody comes third, and Noah comes first, and Tyler gets nothing. Now, the barrel, I think the winner would be Harold. I think Harold would win the challenge in this version. I don't think Noah would do that well. I don't think Cody. I think Tyler and Harold work together, but I think Tyler would give Harold the win. As out of the two of them, there's a likely more chance that Tyler would probably beat one of them in the tiebreaker than he could beat Harold. Now, to be honest, I do think everyone votes for Noah here. Even though Tyler's a physical threat, he's not that good in challenges. I think Cody would know that. I think Cody and Harold are pretty tight. Tyler is friends with Harold, and I do think they're all closer than Noah. I think Noah would try to convince everyone to vote for Tyler, or to get Tyler to vote for Cody, but I don't think it really matters here. In episode 24, is basically a non-elimination, it's just an aftermath. Episode 25, Christopher Noah out of Drumheller. So Tyler and Harold will 100% tag team to take out Cody. So I don't think Cody will get to the end. Also, on top of the fact, if you want to say that they don't tag team with each other, Cody quit in the original because he doesn't. The only reason Cody actually was motivated to continue the challenge was because of Sierra. This is the only time I'll say Sierra was actually useful. Apart from our obsession with Cody, which is one thing I argue with. Again, I think Sierra was a missed opportunity. Like, she had her moments, I guess, but the point was, Cody wasn't going to do that challenge without Sierra. That's the only thing I can say. If Gwen was there, for example, you could have done it. Even if Tyler was trying to literally have to carry Cody to the end, I still think he wouldn't be able to get him to the end. Like, Tyler would really screw up last second, and just fall, and Cody just falls, and yeah, Cody gets left behind. So Tyler and Harold are both in the finale. Now Tyler would obviously pick Lindsay, and I think he would pick Owen as his helpers. Harold would pick Lashana, and Bridget for being his final helpers. Both would each get winning endings, and so this is the elimination order for their season. Now, obviously, Aljandro is still here. He'd be happy that he would be able to see Tyler and Harold. I think Tyler would probably pick Aljandro to take to the end, to be honest. But now we go straight into the Total Drama Redonkulous Race. So, in this version of the universe, Emma and Kitty still participate in the Redonkulous Race, but Kitty is very manipulative, and she is very athletic. So in episode 2, it doesn't affect Leonard and Tammy going home. The difference is their placement will be much higher. Again, another episode doesn't change. Unfortunately, Pete and Jerry still go home. Episode 4, I'll just change that quick. In episode 4, so at this point, I take in the casket. So Emma would have to obviously drag her partner around. But with Mick and Jay, Kitty would be able to manipulate the competition. And again, Emma's really smart, so she would make sure to keep Kitty on a very tight leash, which would put Kitty in a tough situation. But considering the original version, Emma was able to handle her. I do think Kitty would obviously doing her manipulative tactics in this version, and I think Emma wouldn't approve of it, but like sister, like she is looking out for Kitty, and she tell her, don't do this. We can play fair. Like he's like, no, we need to win. And I think she's not obsessed with her phone in this version, so she's not a vlogger either. And she threw in it just for the money. And I don't think this changes the elimination, which is Tom and Jen, who Kitty could just manipulate to be in an argument with each other. In episode 8, is in episode 9, Hello Divine. And this is still where Taylor and Kelly go home. I don't think they affect the episode. Now, in episode 9, there is actually... Obviously, episode 8 is an elimination. I'm sorry. My bad, episode 8 is an elimination. But episode 9 is where they go. So I might just put Dawn here, because I really don't see the point being on its own. I'm just going to do that, yeah. So, really, in this episode, the Finland challenge. This puts Kitty in a very tough situation. Because on the one hand, Noah and Emma would be a threatening duo, but on the other hand, Jay and Mickey are basically kind of useless to her now. So I do think she would mess with them, and so they would still go home. The adversity twins. In episode, regardless of which twin between Emma and Kitty tricks them, they still lose the challenge. So, obviously, in the book, so episode 14, episode 11, 12, and 13 are all non-elimination episodes that really don't need to be changed. The only difference here is obviously Emma's not giving a love advice to Devon and Kerry separately because she wouldn't honestly care. Stephanie would still be very competitive, and that's kind of about it. So, Lorenzo still messes up in this challenge with Rock and Spud, as they still do what they did in the original. And I don't think a lot changes for them. This next episode is episode 16, and where father-son duo still go home in this episode. I don't think a lot changed. So, in Got Venom, there is a difference in episode 16. Now, in the original version, Kitty didn't want to get eliminated, but Emma has fallen in love with Noah at this point, and Kitty can kind of see this as a problem, and she kind of needs her to focus on the game. And so, in this version, I don't think anything really changes. However, I think the elimination does change here. Because Owen was in a costume trying to get the Venom. Now, Noah was obviously still upset about Emma. And so I think Kitty would think about helping them, but I honestly don't think she would because she wouldn't want to risk her elimination. And so I still think Noah and Owen go home. In episode 20, again, the ice dancers don't change. Emma and Kitty. Kitty might actually encourage the ice dancers to do this for her. And in fact, she might actually make an alliance with the ice dancers as long as they get to the final two. The ice dancers would obviously agree because, again, Kitty is very athletic, but they see no reason why Kitty and Emma wouldn't be a threatening duo. Obviously, they want to betray each other later on, but they kind of just say they will. And Crimson and Omni are still sent home. So, in this episode, Jeff and Brody still sacrifice themselves to a noble thing because Jeff and Brody. So, yeah, that's that. In episode 22, is not a vision. Stephanie and Ryan still make up and they date again. So, that's really good for them. So, in episode 24 is actually very different to the original. Because I'm going to explain in a second. In this episode, Kitty would probably purposely actually push Devin and Gary off the cliff, to be honest. I don't think she would actually accidentally do it. So in episode 25, race to the final three. Kitty got stuck in a rock between rocks in the original. And I think this is the same case. So I do think Emma and Kitty go home. Now, I did forget to mention Jeff and Brody still return. And the Ace Dancers lose, followed by the Carther, Jeff, or Brody getting their own alternate endings. So I just realized this part is basically the same. I've never had the same elimination before. I'm sorry that Kitty's ones kind of remain the same. She's only been a bit manipulative. Again, I don't think Redox Race really changed a lot, but let me know if you agree or disagree. And did you enjoy the video? Thank you guys for watching. And yeah, peace and farewell.